Well, I predict it was 3 weeks. I don't know how many weeks. From after the June 16th ceremony, and after a lot of commotions, I finally get to come back with you and read and continue the book Ghost. So yeah, today we're gonna continue with the book Ghost by Jason Reynolds. Chapter 5, World Records for the Most Runaways in a Single Day. I wonder if doctors ever cut off somebody's arms or legs and afterwards realized that they made a huge mistake. Like, totally blew it. Because that's definitely how I felt about low topping my high tops, but not until I got to school the next day. It was cool with my new shoes when I first did it. Walked around the house totally hyped about how much lighter they were, which would definitely help me out in track. But when I heard my mom at the door, I took them off and quick threw them in my room. I didn't really think she would notice that I cut my shoes in half because she was usually so beat when she got home. She never notices anything but the couch. But still, I wanted to play it safe just in case. She was in a bad mood and saw that I pretty much just threw half the money she paid of those sneakers in the trash, buried under styrofoam to-go containers, all streaky and stinky with brown gravy and French dressing. She probably would have flipped out, and knowing her would have made me get the glue and the needle and thread and the stapler and some tape and made me try to fix them, all while giving me a speech about the value of $1, and that would have been even worse than her yelling or pushing me. Shoot, maybe even worse than ladders. Okay, I'll be right back. I was even still good with the shoes the next morning, which I was really happy about because a lot of times when you sleep on something, you sleep for some reason because your mind to change. I don't know why, but it does. But when I woke up to the next morning, wrapped in my blankets on the living room floor, I opened my bedroom door, peeked at my shoes, as if they might have come to life in the middle of the night, and thankfully was still all right with them. Even after I got dressed and put them on, I wasn't too worried, but my jeans came down long enough to cover the raggedy top and make them look regular. What wasn't okay, though, was my legs. They felt like they had been cut off in my sleeve, stuffed with dynamite and hot peppers, and they reattached. So even though my shoes were covered, I couldn't hide the fact that I was walking like senior citizen zombie, which I felt was drawn unnecessary attention, the last thing I needed. When I got to school first, I looked around for Brandon Simmons, but he was nowhere to be found. The only reason I was checking for him was because he could always sniff out stuff like raggedy shoes or whatever, not that he wouldn't try to me 2 days in a row. If he didn't, he would have won because my legs were barely working, but he wouldn't test me, not after what had happened at lunch. If anything, people might have been teasing him, but like I said, he wasn't around. Principal Marshall was tough, and the first thing he said to me was that this had better been an altercation-free day, followed by, and Mr. Simmons would be the sweetest words I heard in a while. I caught up with Dre in the hall in a few seconds. He assumed I was limping because of the battle wound, and was telling me how everyone was talking about how I mopped Brandon, even the people who got chocolate milk splashed on them. Bro, you like a hero, he said. Like you could run for class president right now and win. If you were in all that stuff. He threw his arm around me. Picture that. President Crenshaw. Whatever, man. I slipped from under his arms, laughing to keep from wincing. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. me, Ghost, a hero. Until social studies, I was really in the mood to learn. After Alexander the Great, even though I didn't like the fact that he was called the Great, but what I was even less in the mood for was sitting in front of Shamika Wilson. Shamika was big, like huge. She had to be almost 6 feet tall in the 7th grade, and she had a birthmark that covered half her light-skinned face in the dark brown like a comic book bad guy or something. But Shamika wasn't a mean girl. She was actually kind of cool. The only problem with her was that she was super silly, and she had a laugh as big as her body. But it was a real laugh, the kind that made her bend over. The kind that Coach was faking when I first met him. So when I sat down in front of her and bumped her desk, knocking one of her pencils on the floor, Shamika leaned over to pick it up, noticing my new and improved sneakers. And then came the thunder. It just came out of nowhere, and once she starts laughing, Shamika can't stop, and the worst part is that she can sort of pass her laugh around the room to everybody just because the sound of it is so outrageous. So if she laughs, everybody laughs. Imagine the sound a car makes when it's trying to start, but can't. Now, speed that sound up and crank the volume high enough to blow out the windows in heaven. That's Shamika's laugh. What's so funny, Shamika? Mr. Howell, the social studies teacher, asked, unamused. Would you care to share it with the rest of the class? And that's pretty much what I started to panic. When I had that doctor moment, I was talking about when they cut somebody's arm off and then realized it was a bad idea. My shoes equaled that arm. And now Mr. Howell was basically asking to see my surgical screw up. Oh no, please, Shamika. Don't share it with the class. Don't share it with the class. Shamika couldn't get herself together long enough to even speak. So instead, she just pointed at my feet, and that was all it took for like 60 other eyeballs, including Mr. Howells, to laser beam me and my sneakers. I tried to cross my legs, then stuck my feet farther under the seat, then pulled my pant legs down, but then my butt was out. There was nowhere to hide. In the next few seconds, with the whole class howling, felt a gazillion times worse at Brandon's stupid jokes about my mom, Mr. Howell finally shut it all down and went on about Alexander the Great, while I, Ghost, the worst, stared at the pages in my textbook. The stupid black words on the stupid white page all blurred together as solid black lines. I was literally shaking with embarrassment, like my inside had turned into ice. Ice that was crackling. I wanted to break the desk or flip over, scream some anything. Miraculously, the lunch bell rang. Everybody poured into the hallway, moving towards the cafeteria. Some still talking about me, others playing and joking, slipping heads, jumping on backs, getting Mr. Baskin, the school security guard, all mad as usual, forcing him to leave his post to deal with the craziness, and knowing that Baskin wasn't where he was supposed to be. Once I finally got to the double doors to the lunchroom, a lunchroom I felt was waiting to eat me. I just kept walking, more like a sore rock run, straight out to the front door of the school. I had never skipped class before. Never, I mean, I had my fair share of the school problems, but whenever I was never bald enough to just not go. And I definitely didn't have the guts to walk into the middle of the day, or to go out in the middle of the day. But now I didn't have a choice. I had to get out of there. Once I was outside, I broke out in a full-on run. I mean, I straight up jetted, and because I was so scared of getting caught, I couldn't even feel the pain in my legs anymore. Adrenaline line overload. I ran and ran until I was far enough away from the school to not get caught. I turned down a busy street with a whole bunch of stores on it, just because it seemed like the easiest place to be. To blend in. I almost went into a wig shop, just because I figured I might have been able to grab a disguise. I mean, a wig would definitely do it, but nah. Then these were the fish markets. I looked in the window. Those short guys took huge fish, big, like they were baby sharks or something, and hacked the heads off with giant knives. Wham! That was wild. But somehow I could relate to the fish. Actually, I could kind of relate to the man chopping the heads off the fish, too. Then I came to a sporting goods store. That's when the best idea ever popped into my head. Welcome to Everything Sports! A lady greeted me at the door. Her name tag said Tia. She was wearing sweatpants and a basketball jersey with the store's name on the front. She didn't really look like she played sports, though. Patty looked like an athletic, but this girl not so much. I mean, she had on makeup and had her hair all done. Let me know if you need some help finding anything, she said. I hummed awkwardly. I tried not to look her directly in the face just because I didn't want her to say nothing about me being in school. Plus, I felt weird about being the only person in the store. Y'all, got track stuff? I asked. Then, trying to be more clear, I added, like shoes? Yup, right over here, the girl Tia said, leading the way. Their track shoes at Everything Sports was amazing. Neon green and gold, shiny black and electric blue. They looked like they were full of power and speed. Like just wearing them could get closer to Usain Bolt's world record. They were just like Lou. I picked up one of the shoes, a silver one, flipped it over to see the price. Then put it right back down. Yikes. Then I looked at a mean, bright orange one, looked at the bottom. Want to try any of them? Tia asked. She had been standing behind me the whole time. I put the orange shoes back. They were even more, and turned to face her. The silver ones, I guess, size, she asked. I don't really know, I think an 8, maybe 8.5. The truth is, I had no idea what size I wore. I couldn't remember when me and Ma went to get my last pair, the ones I was wearing, the ones that now had their heads chopped off. The reason we went in the first place was because the sneakers I had were too small. I thought it was even 7, and then we had to bump up to an 8. But I just couldn't remember. Tia eyeballed my feet, and even though I knew she was trying to guess my shoe size, I couldn't help but think she was looking at my chewed up dogs like, what the? I was hearing Shamika's booming laugh ringing in my ears again. When Tia finally chirped, I'll being a 9 too. I took a seat on one of the benches, and looked around the boxing gloves and soccer balls and every other kind of sports equipment. There was a man working in the store too. He was standing next to a rack of jump ropes, tossing a basketball back and forth from hand to hand and occasionally spinning it on one finger, but only for like half a second. He probably wasn't no athlete either. A few moments later, Tia came back out with 2 boxes. Okay, she said, sitting on the boxes down in front of me. I got an 8 and a 9, but no 8.5. She popped the top of the first box. Let's start with the 9. She pulled the silver shoes from the box and set them down in front of me. I untied my frayed shoestrings. I had to cut them too, and slipped my sneakers off, tucking them under the bench. Two more people walked into the store. Tia and the other guys greeted them. Tia encouraged me to put the shoes on, walked around, jumped up and down, or whatever. Take your time and get a feel of them. Okay, so that is part 1 of chapter 5 of the book Ghost. We're gonna come back and do part 2 later on. The reason I'm doing this is because the chapters of the book are too long, and I don't think y'all would, and then it would be a waste of storage on my phone. But anyways, thank you for watching. Have a good day.